SMT Nation, we back. Nation, we got a big developing story. This is huge. All right, this has been an ongoing discussion, I think, amongst network tech enthusiasts, people that live in the Midwest or areas that have US Cellular. But the parent company of US Cellular is potentially looking at options to sell the company. Now, the parent company is TDS, and they have wireline home internet services. I think they do business solutions too. Again, primarily focused in the Midwest. There's other parts across the country where they have pockets of coverage, but you know they've shifted their business strategies. I think they've realized something about the industry, and they're signaling they might be tapping out here. Let me give you guys kind of what we know currently, the framework of what this would mean, and then who would buy US Cellular and its assets. All right, we'll do some of that speculating at the end of the video. So let's discuss those items in today's video. I'll go ahead and link this article. It's a press release from the Chicago Business Cranes newsletter. All right, so the link will be in the description. Also in the description, the Real SMT Buy Me Coffee link. Want to show your support for your creators and all the content that they produce. You can buy us a coffee. Link in the description. And if you're looking for a really good deal on wireless service, you can get it from our partner, Mint Mobile. Use our partner link. Save those ducats. Get a great plan at a great price, that incredible value, and their legendary customer care. Just use our partner link, mintmobile.com/sneed. You'll save that money, and you'll be helping out the channel. Okay, so US Cellular is, I don't know, I guess we'd call it the 5th biggest wireless carrier behind, Dish, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon. Not in any particular order, just saying kind of, that's kind of the wireless providers. They're the last of the regional providers to any type of scale. Most regional providers have, really shrunken down, or they've already sold out to the bigger carriers because it's really hard to do business in this industry. You either have a national network or you have a good regional network, but having a good regional network means you need roaming, and then you form partnerships with other carriers, and that's quite expensive. So really it's become a national wireless game. And I think that's kind of what TDS US Cellular has learned, and internally, and I think probably amongst a lot of people within the industry, analysts, researchers, those that are in the know, it's basically just been a matter of time. When were they going to sell out? Because they weren't expanding, they were shrinking their network footprint. They sold markets here and there along the way, and then it was talks of them expanding, and then they backed out of those. Things didn't make sense to progress forward the way that they were. I think they've been losing market share. They've been losing to the big players. They're losing to Verizon, they're losing to T-Mobile, they're losing to AT&T. Now, when AT&T did FirstNet, when Verizon expanded the network and bought regional carriers, and when T-Mobile brought Sprint and made their network bigger, it put more pressure on US Cellular. Because the more those big mobile network operators have a native network, the less they rely on roaming, which is less revenue for US Cellular. And not to say that US Cellular network is even all that great. It's very average. It's serviceable where they have that native footprint, but they've got to reinvest huge money into these assets. They bought a bunch of spectrum. That's valuable. They have a lot of spectrum. That's very valuable. They've got customers, right? I think 4.5 million of them. So they do have assets that make them ripe for the taking. The problem is this is going to have to get regulated. How are they going to do this? So this takes us to the next piece of this. How would US Cellular get sold? You have 4.5 million customers. You have spectrum assets, all of which is very, has value, very valuable. I would say that the spectrum is probably the most valuable in this transaction, right? And I would say that the customers are also valuable, but companies are cash strapped right now, right? Who's got, billions of dollars just laying around? If I look at the number of customers, and those are postpaid customers, right? They're not really prepaid customers or anything. I know US Cellular has a prepaid business, but I don't know how much that's valued at. I don't know what regulators would do with that. If it goes to Verizon, that'll be a problem because that just makes them bigger. If it goes to AT&T, same thing, and if it goes to T-Mobile, how many mergers and acquisitions does T-Mobile get? Like 17,000, so that's why this is so messy. Now, to kind of put this into perspective from the spectrum side, which carrier makes sense to get the spectrum? Well, they all do. US Cellular has low band frequencies that basically all the carriers use. They have 700 megahertz, I believe. They have 850 megahertz as well. I think they might have some band 2, some PCS, and some AWS. And they even bought some C-band and DoD, I believe. Right? And I think they have 600 megahertz as well. Like, all those frequencies are all the frequencies the other carriers use. So the issue, and I think they have CBRS too. Maybe millimeter wave. I know they're doing fixed wireless access. They got some customers. I know they added like 100,000 fixed wireless access subs last quarter. This is going to be a big transaction. And with the spectrum, you'd say, well, which company does it make sense? They all do. This is why I would kind of say that the thing for US Cellular, what should happen to the spectrum, it should probably just be sold. Does the FCC have to get involved? How does that go? Do they put a spectrum screen? Do they assign? Do they value the spectrum? I have no clue. But this would be a huge transaction. If a company was able to, one of the mobile network operators was able to come in, buy US Cellular and all their customers and their spectrum, it would be huge. Now, the 600 megahertz makes sense for T-Mobile and Dish. The 700 megahertz, that they have, I think they have 700. Yeah, I think they do. Makes sense for Verizon and AT&T. The 850 megahertz makes sense for Verizon and AT&T. The PCS, AWS, well, the PCS for any company, Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. I would say probably not for T-Mobile, just because they have so much of it already from the Sprint merger. So, there's that. AWS, all companies have, including Dish. The CBRS, Verizon, Dish, the millimeter wave, anybody, I guess, and the DoD, Dish, AT&T, the C-band, all of them. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. The spectrum can go anywhere. So to me, it makes sense for that to be more of like an auction type situation. Or an assignment and value, and that's that sort of thing. I think they have some band 41 too, the 2.5 gigahertz. Quote me or don't quote me, I could be wrong, but if anybody out there knows for sure what that is, I think they do. That makes sense for T-Mobile. That's probably how that's going to have to play out. But the customers, who's got the cash laying around just for this stuff? This is going to take billions of dollars in a transaction. Lots of spectrum licenses, lots of customers. This would be a heavy transaction, and it's going to have to be regulated. I do not envy the folks that make these decisions, because it's going to be really important that the right thing is done. Otherwise, we end up with some super monopolistic, horrible things that could kind of shift the balances in the marketplace. In the end of the day, I don't know how this is going to play out. The best thing would have been for US Cellular to continue to operate. It just looks like financially they have to explore other options. What do you guys think should happen? What should happen to the customers? What should happen to the spectrum? Do you think US Cellular should just be allowed to just terminate their business and just sell out, and then all the wireless customers become free agents, or auction for the spectrum, or sell it? What do you think should happen? And what do you think the likelihood is of US Cellular selling? What if there's no buyers? Right? What happens then? The financials right now, you have to take some loans out. Verizon has 150 billion in debt. AT&T's 140 billion in debt or something, 160, I don't know. T-Mobile's got a ton of debt now. They've got a lot. Dish doesn't even have capital. Who the heck is going to buy into this? I don't know. What do you guys think? What's going to happen? Make your predictions. You're all the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard.